hello, Kaylin. It's Friday night. We're doing it early this week.
Are we?
This it's earlier than previously, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe a little.
You got music playing. That's
Oh
great.
shit, my bad. Sorry about that.
No. I was actually going to say that's a cool aesthetic to have going.
I, does
Have
it?
some tunes. It did when I went over to your actual live. It did come through pretty
I was
clearly.
just doing a little pre-show, trying to get excited, get the others out or whatever. What I don't know what the word is.
Feelers is fine. Feelers works. We've done it, man. We got Corey in the house. I couldn't help but notice, since the last time we talked, you've gotten rid of most of your beard. As have I. I trimmed it down a bit too. Yeah, I didn't get a haircut, but you did get a haircut. Why was that? Was that because of a legal choice, or was that because of a new job prospect?
The best.
Okay.
So it was combination. One, kind of it was for other people or some other people than it was for me, right? But I'm the one, I mean, like, if it's an issue, so be it, but it's yourself or whatever. But anyway, so
yeah.
I heard a lot about it. I like it.
You hear about it. When you have a big beard and you have shaggy hair, you hear about having a big beard and shaggy hair, especially if you have the kind of job where do you go into a lot of Zoom meetings for your job?
3 times a week. And so like that, like it's with some people, it affects them. Some people just focus on things, right? Or like different things effective, whatever, right? And so like there was a combination of that. And then the main factor, I went on like a few dates, but they never went past with different people, and it never went past the thing. And it basically felt like preventing other areas.
Hey, I understand that. As a married person, I don't have to obviously worry about going on different dates with different people. But when I was in the dating scene, I do remember it was night and day if I showed up to a date looking like a scraggly old scraggle man versus being a clean shaven, look like I have things going on in my life.
Yeah.
Man.
You
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And during COVID times, like you're in a rare situation, a unique situation where you can actually go out and go on dates and go out and have dinner with friends and go to bars and stuff because Halifax isn't under strict quarantine. Toronto also isn't under strict quarantine, but it's under much more strict quarantine than Halifax is. Toronto is like, everybody stay home. We're under a state of emergency. But also, please go out to businesses and use our businesses. But also, don't hang out with any of your friends or family. But also, you're allowed to hang out with 5 people outdoors. So where's the beginning and end of that? Can I take 15 of my friends out to a park and socially distance in groups of 5? Where does it end? So it's fucked up here. And I have sadness for all the people of Toronto, but I have happiness for all the people of Halifax. And I'd just like to start this show off tonight by saying hello, Kaylin. We are the Beard Buddies. We do movie reviews monthly. I suppose it's been monthly. We're going to try to do it a little bit more frequently. Tonight, last time was an experiment to see if we could keep an episode to 1 hour. This week, this episode was 2 things. I wanted to reinforce, yes, but I wanted to do it earlier as more of like we're prepared. We're not going to show up on the internet at like 11 o'clock at night my time. Like last time it was late. On top of that, we're also in a unique situation where we watched a movie that neither of us had seen, which we toiled over because Kaylin has seen every movie under the sun, and I've seen like 10% of all the movies.
No, what? I thought you.
I've seen a lot of movies, but nothing on the level that you've seen. Not even close. I'm like the inverse of you when it comes to movies because I'm more of a TV person. I've seen I've watched every TV show all the way through. I've seen everything.
I'm not sure if we can carry it over to this or not, but they have.
Well, how would we implement that? We watch a whole season of a show or a whole show.
A whole. Well,
like watch 9 seasons of fucking Friends. Watch 11 seasons of Friends.
You know what I wish Netflix would have? A special features section where you could listen to the commentary or some behind the scenes shit. But
that would be dope.
Corey's right. Lately, I've been watching with commentary because I've seen them all, and so I needed something different, right?
Yeah. So that's why we did this, and we picked the movie The Sisters Brothers, or that's how I've been pronouncing. That's how I've been pronouncing it. I realized when I turned the movie on and started watching it, I know, but it's The Sisters Brothers.
Yeah.
When I looked at it on Netflix, I thought it was The Sisters Brothers, but I realized it's The Sisters Brothers. I know it's subtle. I know it's a weird thing to say that way, but
yeah,
it had to be said, because in my head this whole time I was like, the Sisters Brothers, oh, they're brothers whose names are sisters, therefore they're the Sisters Brothers. I'm glad I can clear that up for the audience.
I definitely was confused at the beginning, like reading it, like, yeah, the Sisters Brothers, and yeah, Sisters Brothers, or what? And also, like, why? But then I thought we were going into a comedy, and I don't know why I thought.
So before we get into the actual movie itself, I was talking to my friend who was I almost said a legit movie reviewer, but I like to fancy us legitimate movie reviewers. He he has a job where he gets paid money to review movies, and he's seen all of the writer-director's stuff and said that we would probably, if we like this, we would probably like his other work. And also, this movie is based on a book, and in the book, apparently, a lot of the humor doesn't translate to the movie, and it is kind of a dark black comedy,
right?
Which does come through in the movie. There are a lot of really like funny moments, but they're not really played for laughs. Is the thing. There's a lot of stuff that's funny, not haha funny.
Yeah, it's like it's internal.
There's a lot of really like we'll run the movie down, but the one scene that I keep running over and over in my head is when he pukes the spider's web and then looks over and sees a dead bear, and his horse was all fucked up. And Joaquin Phoenix is like, man, last night was messed up, dude. We got to get out of here. It smells like death and it's all soaked. We got to get out of here. But what did you think of the movie? Like, I was like, oh no, did we pick a bad one? But then I went through a roller coaster of a ride of a movie. So
yes, I watched it. It was basically a clean slate. For some reason, I thought it was good, but other than that, like otherwise. And it definitely threw. I wasn't enjoying it, and I felt bad. I felt bad thinking that and then kind of things started to happen and shit. And so I do need to give it another watch. And I feel, to give it an honest about it, another watch or whatever. But I was definitely off, and then I kind of and started to enjoy myself. And then it ended.
Yeah. So I was of kind of two minds. The first act, they don't explain anything, and it's just world building in a way that almost feels like you're supposed to know what's going on.
Yeah.
But then right at the beginning of the second act, they just start explaining everything to make everything that's happened previously make sense.
Right.
And when that sort of happens, when you sort of I mean, right off the bat, the very first scene is them going in and killing a guy that like owes money. So I was like, are they bounty hunters? Or is this a vendetta? But you find out that they're assassins. They're hired guns. They work for the Commodore, who is just some guy we don't really ever meet because of shit later in the movie. But the thing is they do jobs for the Commodore, basically. And if they don't do these jobs for the Commodore sends guys to kill them. So they're assassins. That's not really made clear in the beginning, and like I said, lots of things just keep happening. When they introduce Jake Gyllenhaal's character shortly after that, it's like two stories happening simultaneously until about the halfway point of the movie. And Jake Gyllenhaal's story also makes no sense because he's just some guy who's meeting up with this other guy, Worm. His name's Herbert Worm. Is that his name?
I think Herbert. Yeah.
Herman Worm. Anyway, and he's a guy who has this formula. And they don't explain that till way later what the formula means. All he says is he's got a divination formula that can find gold in rivers. It illuminates.
You know what it
and I'm like, what is any of this?
It's layered. It's a movie where you have to kind of thing, right? Like you'll have another.
Because knowing what we know now, watching that, knowing what we know now about how it ends up in the midpoint when the horrible shit happens and the ending, going back and watching that opening half hour, 45 minutes again, you're gonna already understand everything, and it's gonna make a lot more sense. So the movie almost goes in a loop.
Yeah, exactly.
In that way. The other thing I thought was interesting, and I kind of was wondering, going back to our conversation we had a few minutes ago about television, this premise, two, like a boisterous one and a sort of quiet cowboy, two cowboys who are assassins, would be a great serial television show where each week they have to go do a thing. Kind of like The Mandalorian, where each week he goes and does it. Him and Grogu, the fucking baby Yoda, have to go and do a thing, right?
Yeah, I just gotta do it.
Yeah, so I think, dude, Joaquin Phoenix was phenomenal in this movie. He played the asshole perfectly. And John C. Reilly, he didn't do his bumbling buffoon voice at all. He spoke very eloquently.
Yeah.
It was really bizarre seeing him with long hair at the beginning.
Yeah.
Something I'd never seen before. When you picture John C. Reilly, you really just picture him as like Step Brothers.
Yeah, that for sure. Yeah.
Where he's like, I'm a dummy. But in this, he wasn't. No.
He had a little role, and he had like this role. Like I guess I said earlier that, but I guess I actually I was kind of thinking that be more of a jokester or whatever.
Yeah, like the comic relief kind of the movie. But there wasn't really that comic relief. I guess the things that happen to him are comical, like him with the toothbrush. There's this really interesting like I wouldn't really call it a subplot, but he's like, he goes into a convenience store and he picks up a toothbrush, and the store owner comes over and explains to him how a toothbrush works and gives him a pamphlet.
Yeah.
And then much later in the movie, he sees Jake Gyllenhaal's character actually using the toothbrush, and they sort of look at each other and have a moment where it's like, yeah, oral hygiene. And then across the pond, Charlie looks at them kind of like these fucking future boys trying to go into the future and clean their teeth.
Yeah, and he's doing it all like...
Yeah. And Jake Gyllenhaal was like, I've been doing this for quite some time.
Yeah.
So that was another thing I liked. The main cast of this movie was awesome. I couldn't believe are there other movies with Jake Gyllenhaal and Joaquin Phoenix in them together like that?
No, but he was awesome in Nightcrawler, and his little sidekick guy was the same guy. I forget the guy's name. I'm Sue. For the last few, I had some lists of notes, and as for my apologies,
I took notes for the movie.
But I did.
I took notes. That's fine. I mean, we're doing this a little bit more. This is the most professional we've done it. I just cracked a beer at about 2 hours ago, so I've been working on the same beer for 2 hours.
I've been trying not to.
Cigarettes or weed?
Cigarettes.
Oh, you gotta persevere, man. Smoking cigarettes is so 2013.
So you're saying
I don't know,
right?
Yes.
What do you vape or whatever? Or
I vape when I'm drinking. Like I still roll joints with tobacco because
where do you get tobacco?
I have a bag of tobacco. I don't smoke,
tobacco?
Yeah, and I make it last for a year.
Well, yeah, it's for joints.
Well,
do you ever make cigarettes out of them?
Never.
Just for
I haven't smoked a cigarette since New Year's Eve 2018. So it's been 2 years. 2019, 2020. Yeah, it's been 2 full years since I've smoked a cigarette.
Congrats. I'm trying to get there.
How long did you make it a New Year's resolution? Are you 14 days into it?
I feel like, I don't know. There's certain traditional things I don't do them out of spite or something. It's like, oh, do this because, no, because of that. Just
I agree with that.
Doing it.
Yeah. I'm the
too.
same. I did have to do the New Year's thing for smoking, but other stuff, it's more like it has to be the beginning of the month. I have to have a clean slate to start doing things like that. Like if I'm going to go back onto an eating regimen, for instance, it can't just be like the 24th and I'm going to count calories and watch what I eat. I have to start on a day. You know what I mean? But I didn't make any New Year's resolutions this year. I didn't bother. There's nothing that I really feel. The only thing that has changed is I started my review counter over at 1 for 2021. And I started my movie counter over at 1, my video game counter. Last year I completed 25 games throughout the year. That's another thing I put on my Insta here. But this year I'm reading books. I'm going to see how many books I can read this year and throw them on the old Instagram. I don't review video games and I don't review books. I just do the reviews for the movie because I don't feel like writing 1,000 pages. But yeah. So continuing on. You seem like you're just wiped out today, buddy.
Real, honest, I'm not feeling. I really want to. I think that's the. I
Yeah.
did have like start a glass of wine. Looking back at the past one, lit every time we've done that, and it shows, or it showed, or whatever.
Okay. Okay. In that case, why don't I've got pretty extensive notes. Why don't I run it down and you tell me your thoughts on the Sisters Brothers. And if we don't go the full hour, that's fine.
It's fine.
That's fine.
It's fine.
We just want to put our movies down on video for the world to see because this is our show, and on our show on the Beard Buddies, we do what the fuck we want. So the opening scene, of course, as I said, is they're doing some sort of breaking into a person's house to kill them. I got major Red Dead Redemption vibes. I don't forget.
Yeah,
have you played those games?
I think my brother had the and like he played it. I saw it like I there'd be times where it'd be passing, see him playing it. For some reason, I never picked up this, and I know there are a few parts were just like on a gallop for a while.
Oh yeah,
which is
yes,
like cool
absolutely.
because thickness, but also like fucking.
So specifically, Red Dead Redemption 2 takes that to the next level, and it's like the realism of the galloping is very real, and it feels real. And this movie really had a lot of them traversing like wide open vistas that really reminded me of Red Dead Redemption 2. There's a part near the end where the scene where they're like, well, we've left the Commodore, we're going to go and just run for our lives, basically. There's a group of horses, and they're running from a group of horses, and they're having a shootout between the groups of horses, and that was like the most Red Dead Redemption shit I've ever seen put to film. I've also never seen like in Red Dead Redemption, it's like more like a New Orleans city that's built up and big. In this, it was San Francisco. There's not a lot of westerns. I feel like that show like a city hub like that. Can you think of any? I can't think of like a full on like brick building city. You know when they're in San Francisco? Yeah.
Gotcha. Because usually they do like fake storefronts.
Well, they usually just do those little towns that are just like 6 buildings. You never see actual like multi-story buildings with like a bustling town with multiple people. Maybe like movies that are sort of westerns like later. Like I imagine what's the gambling western? Maverick? That probably has that.
Maverick. Oh, Maverick's dope. Do that. Hoffman, I think. I'm pretty sure John Hoyt was a Voight or something like that. Like escort cowboy guy.
That sounds awesome. No, I don't. What movie is that?
It's I'm pretty the one where he's like, I'm walking.
I'll tell you, I'm Walking Here is from everything. I'm Walking Here was in. Because it's in.
This is the OG. This is where.
Oh, is it?
From.
Okay.
This is where it came from because of Au Naturel. Fucking Hoffman or John Voight were crossing the street, and then this cabbie is like fucking like gets up close to Dustin Hoffman or whatever, and he's like trying to cross the take. He's like, I'm walking. You gotta watch it. It's a weird movie. He's like a cowboy escort.
That sounds amazing. Because the reason why I bring that, when is that? What decade is that movie from? Is it the 70s?
I want to say it's 70s.
The reason why I brought it up and that I'm Walking Here is from everything is because, of course, it's in Futurama.
Yeah.
I believe what the construction bot says it throughout the series. But I picked it up in Weekend at Bernie's 2. At the beginning, they're leaving the building where they work, and they bump into a guy, and he goes, "I'm walking here," and I was like, "What the fuck? That's crazy."
It's been referenced a lot. Where was that on Netflix? How did I?
No, I watched it. So I reviewed it, and I have this Twitch channel called Movie Past, PASSED, that just shows just random weird movies all the time. Check it out. Actually, it's a pretty interesting channel. Shout out to Movie Past. But it was just on one day, and it's cool. It's a Twitch channel that just has movies playing all the time, and they put up their schedule on Instagram, so it feels like old school terrestrial TV. Like it feels like an old school movie channel. Yeah, like you go, you check what's going to be on for the day, and then you just tune into their Twitch channel. and it's such obscure stuff and
That's
stuff, and they don't
interesting.
get like a lot of views, so they can just play whatever, and they don't get like copyright claimed because I don't think they have enough eyes on it for Twitch to be like, hey, you're like obviously if they played like Marvel movies, they would probably get dinged immediately.
Right.
But since they're playing like
Old
Lost
school.
Media, yeah.
Well, what's that becomes a phrase expression?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Fucking
Like when
public domain.
public.
But that's like 50 years. So movies in like the early 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, early 70s movies are now
Midnight
public domain.
Cowboy.
Oh, is it Midnight Cowboy?
I think it's called Midnight. Anyway,
Is it Rhinestone?
you got
I won't. So the next part is they're talking about their horses. I'm not gonna talk about every little point, obviously, but I did want to point out that Joaquin Phoenix and John C. Reilly are talking about horses and the mayhem that just happened. There's a scene like during that scene where where they kill the guy, they light the house, they like blow up the house or light the house on fire. There's like flaming horses and stuff, and they're talking about the situation and they're talking about the horses. And Joaquin Phoenix goes, and he taps his foot twice like a horse. And I was like, that's an interesting choice because they're talking about horses and he bellowed like a horse or whatever.
Yeah.
And this movie felt like a small independent movie.
Yeah. Was it a Netflix
but
movie?
I think it might have been a Netflix movie, in fact.
Anyway,
because it had that feel. And the production value was very like it felt like they went out somewhere in the northern California. Yeah. And filmed all these beautiful shots and then went to a soundstage and filmed all of the like interiors.
Yeah.
Or they went to those little ghost towns that they used to film the like small town shots. And then obviously San Francisco was a fucking green screen. It looked super fake. They showed it long enough, like you see down a row of buildings, and then the roads are filled, and it looked like if you look down, it looks super fake.
You look at the background, I guess, So like you have like, and then after it's all, you can tell it's green. It's got it almost. I remember like notes like kind of like fuzzy.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. I was gonna say that as well. So then it switches to Jake Gyllenhaal's story, and I was like, I didn't know he was in this movie. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And it turns out that we don't find this out right away, but he's journaling. He's kind of writing his whole story about what's happening in the world. And we find out that he's helping the sisters brothers find this guy who has the formula.
Right.
And at first, it's like he goes and like befriends this guy. We don't really know that he has ulterior motives until he's writing in his book. And he sends a letter, I think, to the sisters brothers to be like, hey, I found the guy.
Yeah.
I just got to keep them talking until you guys get here. And it's going to take them about 7 days to get over to where they are because, horse travel and they're going across states,
exactly,
days and days and days.
Yeah.
Right. So then in this part of the movie, they keep switching back and forth pretty, like it'll be like one quick scene with Sisters Brothers, one quick scene with Jake Gyllenhaal and Warm. Then we go back to John C. Reilly and Joaquin Phoenix's characters, Charlie and Eli, partying. Eli's gone to bed. That's John C. Reilly's character. And he looks out the window and he hears fucking Eli or Charlie just like shooting up the place and stumbling out of the fucking bar, which I was like, yes, this is awesome. I see their dynamic now. Like Eli is like, I'm going to go to bed early. We got shit to do. Keep in mind, at this point, we've recognized that both of these guys are amazing gunslingers. It's like they throughout the whole movie, they don't get fucking shot once.
Yeah, classic.
Something horrible happens to Charlie later in the movie, but it does not involve. It's not because he got shot. It's because of like the mishap that happens with the formula.
Because he's dumb.
And he's dumb as fuck. He's like the irrational,
the wild,
like wild card, hot-tempered, hot-headed. He's smart dumb. You know what I mean? You've met people right?
Like he has two of anyone. Strengths and weaknesses. He is well gifted in a certain area, but then dumb.
Yeah. So I did like that. I did like Jake Gyllenhaal's character too, because he's very like a sensitive guy. He kind of befriends Warm, and until Warm figures out what he's trying to do, trying to get lure him to the sisters brothers, I thought that he was going to be the main antagonist in a way that's he's the good guy trying to take down the sisters' brothers because the sisters' brothers are like anti-heroes.
Yeah.
But what we find out is they're all kind of anti-heroes, and Worm is just a scientist who's trying to fucking get away from the Commodore, and he wants to start a company and sell this formula that he has. This formula, is it a real thing? And what the fuck is it? Because you have to lube up your skin to not get burned by it, but you can wash it off if it touches your bare skin.
Well, that's
the only thing I could
usually how if something happens, like wash yourself, or like spray water in your eye. Like it's not that highly scientific, but it.
But what? So the only things I could think of that would do that to your skin are like bleach, mercury, and then I wish that I would have looked up if this was real beforehand, because I want to know if that sludge that they used. So what it is it's just like this vat of like a thick viscous liquid.
They were like gasoline or oil, which it's
like
not
tar.
what it is. Yeah, tar.
It was like a tar, and when you pour it into the water, if you're a prospector, you agitate the water, and then it makes the gold illuminate on the bottom of the like where you would
like I guess it reacts to it. Like
that's what I was thinking, right? Yeah. That's what I was thinking. There was a chemical reaction between the gold and whatever the stuff they were pouring into the water, and that was a really cool scene where it was glowing. But if you get too close to the stuff, or if you're in it for too long, it burns your skin. And if you're exposed to the stuff directly, it's not a good scene if that happens to you. So exactly. So okay, so the next shit is the toothbrushing part we already talked about. Then it's like the next morning after he's shot up the bar, and they're riding along, and Joaquin Phoenix falls off his horse. And this is when we realize, well, if we didn't know already, that he's got a horrible drinking problem, which kind of is his main character flaw throughout the whole movie. Kind of fucks things up a lot. It kind of fuels his greed, his irrationality. And the problem here is he pukes. He falls off his horse and then pukes. And John C. Reilly's character, Eli, is like, dude, we're assassins. You can't be stinking drunk in the daytime when we're like running from the law and trying to take down this highly sought after target. And he's like, fuck you, man. I'll do what I won't. I'm drunk. It's hilarious. And I was like, yes, Joaquin Phoenix, it is hilarious. It is funny that you are that drunk, but I can also see it from John C. Reilly's point of view that maybe don't be that drunk all the time.
To see like John C. Reilly.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to point out is how we're right at that Wild West where towns are popping up all over the place. That was a little bit of an aside, but Jake Gyllenhaal points that out. That's another thing that reminded me of Red Dead Redemption 2 specifically, because Red Dead 2 is a prequel to Red Dead Redemption 1. And in Red Dead Redemption 2, it's very much all these new towns are popping up.
Yeah.
And they're very underdeveloped.
Trying to get it.
Yeah. So this is the part where we go into, they stop to camp. Joaquin Phoenix's character, Charlie, is under his blanket. He's like crying or some shit. And John C. Reilly goes over and pulls the blanket off him to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's like, haha, got ya. And makes kissy faces at him.
Yeah.
And I was like, you stinker.
Wow. It just kind of like Stan, what kind of movie, like what it was trying to be.
It was like a thriller, drama, black comedy. The thriller is sort of they're being chased, they're doing assassin shit. The drama was the drama, and the black comedy was the little bits of comedy that would shine through. But they weren't like ha ha funny. They were like, that's fucked up in a funny way.
Yeah.
Especially this next bit. I talked about it at the very beginning, but my favorite scene in the movie is John C. Reilly sleeping, and a spider crawls across his face and goes in its mouth. We don't get the classic trope where it wakes him up immediately. He swallows it, and the spider survives, because the next morning he wakes up, and his fucking face is all swollen. And that goes into a whole chaos kind of scene where it's raining, and they're trying to set up camp, and Joaquin Phoenix is like can barely function as a human anyway, let alone take care of somebody. And they hunker down. The horses are going nuts, and then I liked how they did the day to night scenes. It would be very much like chaos is happening, and then dead silent,
Right.
and just
right.
like somebody waking up.
I feel like that was,
And this was
that felt or whatever time.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. They at that time his face was just swollen. There's no fucking way. Even so, John C. Reilly gets up and pukes, and all the spiders and web come out. He's probably like, do I have a literal curse? Because like what would cause you to throw up spider webs? And that's when Joaquin Phoenix is like, dude, last night was crazy. Obviously, he says it in like an 1800s kind of way. I think this is the 1850s when this movie takes place.
That's how.
But he's like, I think it's 1851. I think at the very beginning, it's like the Sisters Brothers. 1851.
Imagine living back in the days. Like
I probably smelled terrible. Gotta say.
I'd be a lot of quit though. Like smell. I mean, that would go away after smell receptors fill up. You don't smell it anymore. So
that's true.
You know what? It would smell, but then it'd be gone. Well, it wouldn't be gone.
Well, if you went back there, if you lived there from the beginning, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You would just. You wouldn't notice.
Back, right?
Yeah, it would be terrible.
If we went for like 2 weeks, half a week of shit, and then of regular shit, and then half a week. Oh, no.
But Worm says it at one point. The scientist goes, "This world's an abomination." And that's how I kind of think of it. If you live in that world, you don't know that in 150 years from then we would have, modern shit. Like even when they're in San Francisco, he's like, this is a water closet. This is where you use the bathroom. And then they go in and flush the toilet, and their minds are blown by running water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is just what you know. All you know is being in the woods, hunting for your food, going to town to get some booze.
But that's what I'm
saying.
That shit back to.
I think if that's the only lifestyle you had, though, it's not that cool.
That's a good point. That's a good point. When
you're struggling, it's
exactly. So that high point is someone else's low point or whatever, right? Like different scales of shit or whatever, or different, where they're coming from beforehand. But also do something you were already going to do, and then you don't want to do it anymore.
Yes,
it's almost like that. It's like if you're forced to live a certain way, where don't get me wrong, all of these are awesome, but at the same time, with cable, when you first get rid of it, you're like, and then after like 2, don't even give a fuck.
I'm to the point with cable where even going back to cable is like, it's too much. I would rather be able to, I want to be able to pick whatever I want to watch whenever I want to watch it. I like going to if I go to my dad's house or my mom's place, they have cable because they're boomers.
Yeah.
I like channel surfing, but I only like it, when I was younger, I loved it for hours and hours, but now I can only channel surf a little bit, and I'm just back on my phone, just reading Reddit. I don't but if I'm going to watch something, I put something on that I choose. That's why I like streaming services and movies and that kind of stuff now. Even YouTube. YouTube is my new channel surfing, because that's a thing where I'll watch a video for a few minutes and be like, nah, on to the next one, and that has the same kind of ads that TV had when we were younger, where it's like, but you can't skip ads on TV unless you have. My dad actually is pretty smart. He's got a PVR, and he'll tape 3 shows at the same time, and then when there's a commercial break on one show, he'll switch to the other show, but then later he'll just record a show that he knows he wants to watch without commercials, and then just watch it just fast forward through commercials, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's ways around it nowadays, but honestly, I get what you mean. Cable is kind of bullshit.
I mean,
and it's too expensive.
It's no longer necessary. It's been weeded out. It's the whole survival thing. It doesn't match up to what we want and offer. It's mostly just a bunch of commercials. Although I never felt this, but there's been times where I have a couple shows on TV, whatever as well, and I don't know what it is, but sometimes that just feel better watching as and commercials. I don't know how to explain it that way.
I'll tell you a kind of show that I feel exactly that way about for a couple of reasons. Food Network. Food Network doesn't feel right without commercials. Just sitting down and watching a Food Network show kind of feels weird, like Cutthroat Kitchen or Chopped or Guy Fieri shit. The other part of it is that to go online and try to pirate shows that they air on the Food Channel isn't a thing because they're so consumable. I was talking to my wife about this today. I was thinking about this today. They're so consumable that you can if people even decide to put them up online, they don't stay up online because you have to seed these things. You have to have them up on your server seeding for people to download. You can go back maybe a week of Food Network shows. Beyond that, you're not going to find it. So it's not like you could go and find all 48 episodes of Guy Fieri's Kitchen Games or whatever that shit's called. You wouldn't even be able to find it. Same thing with shows on like TLC, like 90 Day Fiance. Can't, once they air, they're online for a little bit and then they're gone forever. They're on somebody's fucking hard drive somewhere. They're not sharing it anymore. And in the future, and actually now is a good time where this is happening on YouTube. People are putting up, it's obscure media, right? People are putting it up. And you can find some stuff, but you can never find full seasons of these old reality shows, basically.
Yeah.
Because they're so consumable that you watch it and you're like, okay, I'm never going to fucking need to watch that particular episode of the show again. But, and nobody else is, but
maybe we should kind of start it.
Yeah, just start filling terabyte hard drives with Food Network and TLC shows.
If that's all you need.
You would need hundreds of terabytes. That's why people don't keep them around too, because they're the same amount of space as a regular TV show. Nobody cares. That's the problem. And if you think about it, in the Wild West, when this movie takes place, all they were doing was scheming, hunting, being assassins like in this, hunting bounties, drinking, whoring. And television was the fire, essentially.
Yeah,
that's true. And also, like, when we go, like, I don't know how much camping you do, but when you're camping, you just stare at the fire for as long as you're sitting around the fire.
How much camping I do? How much camping do you?
I go for like a week a year, sometimes.
When can I come?
Sometimes twice. Well, we live in different provinces.
So?
When there's no pandemic, you are 100% welcome to not only come and sleep on my couch for as long as you want, but come camping with us. That would be hilarious.
Not camping.
No, I mean, come stay with me and then we go camping.
We could plan something like if and when. Anyway, yeah. I had a tent on sale at Canadian Tire and I bought it.
Nice. Did you use it?
Not yet. I bought it.
Awesome.
I've gone camping.
The other day, like recently?
Yeah.
Like
1 or 2. But it was on sale. No. It's one of those dope Coleman tents.
Yeah, they're bomb. That's what we use. You just go, and it's a whole tent.
Exactly. I went for that. Very special to me at the time, who maybe I have rooms with. I don't know. But it was fun time.
All right. That sounds great.
What's next on the list?
So we're running down on time here. We got about 15, 20 minutes left. So the next thing that happens is they get to the town where Worm and John are supposed to be. That's Jake Gyllenhaal's character. They have a bit of a fight about let's load them up. It took them 4 extra days to get there because of, Charlie was getting drunk, Eli was sick. They get there, that's when
we preface with
yes, okay. Absolutely, because I'm explaining the whole plot. So they get there. That's something we should talk about. Do we want to do these more non-spoilery? But I'm gonna say what happens.
Well, do.
So they get to Mayfield. They wonder if it was called Mayfield when they got there, if somebody named it, which is a confusing thing to say, but I understand what he meant. But they meet Mayfield. That's the woman. She's the barkeep. She knows who they are. She kind of plays it off like she doesn't really, but she does. Then we get that weird scene with Eli and the prostitute. Charlie goes off to party. Eli is a very humble, simple man, but he's got this thing. He's got this shawl that I don't know if it's his mom's or some lost love.
Yeah.
He goes up to a prostitute. It's like, I'll pay you to talk. And then she's like, okay, that's fucking weird. And he's like, hand the shawl to me and give it to me like you're giving it to me as if I'm going away. And then they have a back and forth that's very that was kind of funny.
A lost lover.
Yeah, because he definitely jerks off with it later in the next scene, after this. So basically she's like, they have this weird little encounter where he's like, just give it to me and tell me, Basically, look me in the eyes and pretend you're my long lost love.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, here, take this and remind it as a reminder of me. I put a bit of my perfume on it. He's like, great. What's the deal with me? What's the deal with this place? She's like, watch out for Mayfield, because Mayfield, just watch out. Then he goes out, he goes to find Charlie, but he looks down into the bar, and the fucking dudes are doing a circle pit. Like, you know, when you see like Hasidic Jewish people do that circle dance? They're doing it, the weird circle dance, where they're in a crowd doing like a circle dance. But not out like that, but they're all marching in a circle, which I've also seen like Orthodox, like Hasidic Jewish people do. Anyway, that was weird. That was just like
I had a haircut
like this.
Well, it was like a bob. I don't know. Corey said I looked very
that's funny. So he goes and gets Charlie. He's like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Charlie's wasted. But they managed to get out of there. And earlier Charlie goes, there's a lot of raccoons. I love dead raccoons. He's not like being racist, which I construed that as. It's actually this group of like woodsmen who dress in pelts, who are like also assassins. Yeah. And they confront them and they have a shootout. And I was like, oh fuck, one of these guys is gonna get hit. But nope. They fucking have a great shootout and fucking the sisters, brothers lay waste to these dudes. But the problem is now, you know, they gotta flee. So they go to the woods, and that's when our group comes together. Charlie goes to sleep. Eli jerks off to the shawl. Very good. And your boys, John and Warm, come out of the bushes and are like, you guys are looking for this guy? Well, I've run off with him because we're going to start a business. So we're locking you up. So they tie him up. Then the next morning, more of the raccoons, the woodsman types, come and seek these mafikas out. They have a shootout, but Warm isn't a gunfighter, he's a scientist.
Right.
And Jake Gyllenhaal's character, John, is kind of a pretty boy, like,
he's a writer.
Philosopher, writer.
Yeah.
So, you know, the sisters, brothers are tied up, and they're like, do you want us all to die, or are you going to give us guns and let us go?
Yeah.
And as soon as they let them go, they fucking just lay waste to all the dudes. Charlie puts on one of their hats, and they have a very close moment where John and Charlie shoot one of the raccoons, and then they're holding guns at each other like, we're doing this, and then they both put their guns down, and they kind of decide to form a posse, basically. They form a little union. Yeah. And that's when this whole sequence can sort of be described as Warm tells them all about the formula. They decide, let's use the formula, and they drink all night and have a great time. And when they finally decide to use the formula, they put the right amount in the water. It illuminates gold. It blows their mind.
Yeah.
They get excited. They can only stay in the water for a certain amount of time, so they get out, but Charlie stays in because he's a fucking maniac.
Yeah.
And then when they're coming back to the water to get more, Charlie's like,
it's starting to fade away.
It's starting to fade. We got to put more in the water. So he goes and grabs a whole jug of the stuff and pours it all over himself and into the water. And because Warm and John are trying to go towards him, they also get splashed with it. They're trying to go towards him. Yeah. So the climax of the movie is actually extremely sad. Also around this time is when that horse meets its untimely end. There's a bit of a buddy ship that works up between Warm and Eli. That was nice. That's right. And it was kind of a bummer because the next morning, Warm has it all over his face and he's blinded. And he's like, he dies naturally. But John is alive enough that he has to be put out of his misery.
He's feeling the pain.
And unfortunately, Charlie's arm gets so badly burned by whatever this potion is that the very next scene is a very gruesome couple of uncomfortable minutes where they saw his arm off in one of the most, they don't actually show it, which was great, but one of the most
they showed it away, like, how are you doing that shot? It looked like it was one full shot, like didn't have like two shots or anything like that, but I don't know. There was a bit, right? There was the arm. Like, yeah, they could probably there, I guess. But yeah,
they do show it for a second, and it's a very blue arm, like clearly dead, and they're given her, but it only shows it for a second. They kind of do that a lot in this movie where they show the gross stuff for like a second. They don't hang on it, and that's sort of what makes it the difference between like a horror movie and a drama and a thriller. For instance, Bone Tomahawk is a straight horror movie, and the gore in that they just hold on it like this. So anyway, the next bit is now they're running from the Commodore because word gets back to the Commodore that they've denounced the Commodore. We're no longer working. We're no longer doing assassins for him. And we get this great montage of them just like defending themselves against these different groups of bounty hunters. And then one day, Eli's like, "Hey, have you noticed that nobody's come after us in about 4 days?" Charlie's like, "No, I'm a fucking idiot." But earlier on, Charlie, I think John asked Charlie, like, or no, sorry. When they're in San Francisco, they have a conversation that goes, Charlie's like, "We're going to do this forever. We're the sisters brothers." And Charlie's like, Eli,
it's
John
like
C. Reilly's
it's
character.
Like they're your...
Yes. John C. Reilly is like, "This is the last shit. We're going to get this gold or we're done." And Charlie's like, "Done what?" And Eli's like, "We're going to open a store." And he's like, "What store?" So anyway, to bring it to where we're at now, they're sort of like, "Well, I always wanted to kill the Commodore. So why don't we go fucking kill him now that he doesn't have guys? He must have run out of dudes," is how I kind of interpreted that. So they go back to whatever city the Commodore's in, and they get there, and they plan this whole like heist, basically, to go in. You go around the left side, I'll go around the right. We go in there and we shoot him. And they get there, and the fucking guy's already dead, which is funny. See, that's comedy, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't translate that well in this movie to be comedy. It just sort of happens, and it's very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Is how I sort of interpreted it.
Which is like it's like do little things that are like it was almost like inside.
Yeah. So the other funny part about that is Eli just beats on the dead body. Be like, "You better be dead." He's very much dead. And then that's pretty much the end of the movie. The next scene is they leave and they go find their mom's house.
Yeah.
And I guess they live happily ever after at the mom's. And that's just how it ends. And also,
we're done.
Yeah.
Retired.
And also, pretty sure that mom was the Sugar Plum Princess, the Ghost of Christmas present from Scrooged.
That would be dope. Can we look this up right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up right quick.
Do you have accessible?
Yeah, I do. I'm doing it right now.
We need a guy.
Jamie, pull it up.
Jamie, sweet ass guys. What other?
You want to get some sweet ass guys in here, Caleb? I mean, I'm down. I'm a heterosexual man, but like not that heterosexual.
Damn, Jamie's Billy.
Yeah, it was Carol Kane.
It was her?
Yep, from Gotham and from...
Oh man, Gotham was a dope show.
Good.
One of the best Jokers.
We talked about that.
Like his face.
The dude from Shameless.
Yeah. I'm sitting in a spot which also added the layout of the feng shui or the vibe or whatever of that.
Well, you got Jesus and you got what, Bikini Bottom?
Yes, told her that one. It's gathering philosophy, something like that. I forget what it's called. It's pretty dope. I think it's got Socrates, Plato, and I think it might be Plato.
So, in summation, just wrapping things up here. So you at the beginning of the show, you talked about you weren't really sure what you were getting into, and then, like me, I was afraid this was going to be a bad movie for the first act until they started explaining things, and I was like, oh, they just wanted, like I said, they just wanted world build. What's your final sort of thought on the movie as a whole, especially after I basically just recited the whole movie back to you?
And I appreciate that. Watch it. Like I do need to watch it again to get a better for it. Now, there's been for sure that are different. They don't follow the drum or whatever that your basic, majority of movies kind of follow. Like a lot of movies have
Yeah.
It's just how it like feel it come in, expect it all. It's how it should be or whatever. It's all nighty, blah blah. So this one was threw me off, and then also I was from a bad position because I ended. I was like we were talking a little while ago, and then so this one came up. I was like, I had to say, okay, I'm not gonna watch it, and then I had to watch it, and should have watched it the other day, and
Mhm.
like actually just kind of like I just it was weird. Like I watched it wasn't like timing, but it was just a different vibe.
Yeah.
And just on top of that, I wasn't ready. It was unexpected for what it was. And then moments sprinkled throughout for sure. The gold thing, like I like what's going on and the fact that like what happened and having to take care of themselves or whatever kind of thing. And they had a nice. It looks good. We're looking at who came to help him? Who came to like sit by? Is it was it
It was
Joaquin?
Charlie. Yeah, it was Joaquin.
And yeah, but so if you want to actually absorb it, how's that? Does that work as
Great.
a response to that question?
Yeah, that's perfect. I to play off what you said, I wholeheartedly. I think I liked it a bit more than you did off a first viewing. Just because I don't like I said at the very beginning of the show, you watch, way more movies than I do, so you have more things to compare it to, right? I don't. The only movie I compared this to was a video game and Bone Tomahawk, which I didn't really like. It was a bad Western, I thought, but a lot of people love that movie. It's a really low budget indie West. Have you seen it?
I don't think so.
Check it out. It's a horror movie, but it's not. There's only one really bad, gross part. It's really like it's kind of like this, where there's a lot of traveling from point A to point B, but it's got kind of a gray hue to it. It's not as interesting. This was beautiful. It was shot beautifully. I really liked seeing the mix of Jake Gyllenhaal, John C. Reilly, and Joaquin Phoenix. I thought their performances were all fantastic, and I do think that it takes literally 40 minutes for you to start putting pieces together. But like I said, that's just because the director and the writer wanted to make this world, and because they created this world, I want a TV show that's two assassins going and doing just assassin things.
I'll allow
somewhere
it.
Somewhere in between the first assassination we see and them going on this quest to find the formula. Somewhere in there, you do 6 or 8, like a limited run, or maybe like a 10-episode miniseries.
This
and
would
each
be
episode is them going. Yeah, so that's how I felt. I give it a 4.2, which is, I feel like, might be high for you. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was. I'm looking forward to watching it again because I want to make that first act make sense. So
I'm looking to watching.
Awesome. So this has been the Beard Buddies. Once again, we're gonna try to put episodes up a little bit more frequently. We've talked about doing The Mule next.
I didn't watch it yet.
Neither did I, but I think before we do The Mule, this experiment went well, but maybe we watch a movie we're both familiar with again, because I feel like we might have more to talk about. I feel like I did a majority of the I did the majority of the talking because I took like stupidly comprehensive notes, where you watched the movie and just reacted to what you remembered, basically. You know what I mean? So like,
and I'm disappointed with myself about I did not and I feel bad about it.
Don't feel bad about it. It's still a great episode. It's all good.
It's fine. It's one. Yeah. It's you know when you and what you thought was the color blue, actually all the fucking colors together.
Yeah.
So like this.
Exactly. So I'm gonna end it there to keep my. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go back in between a movie that we know and then one that's who knows what the reaction will be, right?
It might be too much to say 2 or 3 weeks from now throw down The Mule, because I think that's going to be another movie that was in the same vein as this, where I don't know what to expect, but I've heard it's hilarious, but in a bad way.
Definitely, you know what? I feel like The Mule will actually be like Gran Torino, and Gran Torino was a dope film, so yeah. I can't wait.
I've heard The Mule is like that, and it's like curmudgeonly old Clint Eastwood just fucking being a curmudgeonly old man and getting into all these ridiculous situations that are hilarious.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm excited for. So that's coming down the pipe. But next time we're going to watch something that we probably more skews comedy, I would say.
Stay tuned, viewers.
Stay tuned, viewers.
Decide now.
We'll figure it out. We'll surprise the fans. We'll surprise the fans.
Oh, actually, even better. You folks at home, what would you like to hear us?
You can direct message us. You can leave a comment on this video. You can find me in the club.
Follow
comment.
The instruction below. Hashtag the at or call. How else to?
That's it. Call toll free.
Regular mail.
Yeah.
Too, you know what? We need to keep the post office alive. Regular mail. Maybe it'll be on next episode, but it'll be on event.
It will. It's true.
Jason Man.
K-Man. K-Jarino from the K-Town. Nope. From Halifax. The K-Town. Have a good night, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
God bless.
God.
Oh, okay, fine. I'll take Signia. Those segue. No, 1 second. Here it comes. God damn.